Hello there, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here,
and BlueDragonFive.
and welcome to the Main Street Cinema, the show where we discuss the finer points of filmmaking. And a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, 1977 to be exact, a film was released that not only changed everything, but led to the creation of a franchise that has amassed an empire of fans. It's a franchise so big and ever growing. We have it broken down into trilogies, along with many adventures and explorations on the side.
It's still thriving and growing stronger with the Force to this day. So building to the next chapter of Star Wars, we're looking to where it all started, with the original trilogy.
So, turn off your targeting computers and don't get cocky, as we reflect on and celebrate Star Wars. Yeah, oh yeah. That's what I'm wearing to the premiere. That's what I'm wearing to the premiere. What do you think? What do you think?
I like it.
You like it? Got all three titles right there in Flash Gordon print. Oh, it's awesome. I love this shirt. So BlueDragonFive, freaking Star Wars.
Yeah. It's awesome. Tiki audio. Can't hear you. But yes, it's finally, folks, we're talking about Star Wars. You know, we're building until the new movie comes out, and you know, what better way than kind of take it back to the beginning, as the intro has explicitly told us.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, I do think it's a little bit redundant to dwell on Star Wars and to talk about it, because it's just one of those things that's been done to death and talked about to death, and that's one of the things I don't like to do, is do redundant podcasts. But I think the thing with Star Wars, the thing that makes it special, is the fact that everyone just kind of has their own personal attachment to it, their own memories of it, what makes it special to them. And that is kind of what I'm hoping to glean from this little mini retrospective that we're going to do in anticipation of The Force Awakens.
That, and also kind of appreciation for how big it is that it's coming back this big all of a sudden. You know, that's the other thing we're trying to glean from this too.
Yeah, and especially if The Force Awakens is actually good. I mean, fingers crossed. I'm trying to keep my expectations in check. We're going to age this in like about 4 or 5 days. I can't believe it's this close. It's kind of crazy. But, so folks, like, you know, as you can probably guess, we're going to be doing Star Wars and then The Empire Strikes Back, and then Return of the Jedi, kind of one right after the other. And BlueDragonFive, to get us started, why don't we get to The Crawl?
It's the crawl for the Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
Dun, 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 dun. I'm sorry.
Essentially here, folks, now sit back. This is going to take a minute or two, because, you know, this is the beginning. This is like some dense stuff here. I boil it down to essentially the epic story that we all know. Okay, so Princess Leia Organa, in an attempt to aid the Rebel Alliance against the Empire, transports plans to their planet-destroying weapon, the Death Star, in an R2 unit. The Imperial forces, led by Darth Vader, board her ship. She sends instructions with the R2 unit, R2-D2, and his companion, C-3PO, human cyborg relations. As they use the escape pod, Leia is captured. The droids land on Tatooine. They meet a young farm boy named Luke Skywalker. After discovering Leia's message and her instructions, they find Obi-Wan Kenobi and form a rescue plan, but they need a spaceship. They head to the cantina in Mos Eisley Spaceport. They strike up a deal with the smuggler Han Solo and his co-pilot Chewbacca the Wookiee to transport. To transport them to Alderaan, which is blown up as a trial run before they get there.
For Alderaan,
which leads them to being captured and brought upon the Death Star. Thinking on their feet, they manage to save the princess and avoid capture, but at the cost of Obi-Wan's life.
Mm-hmm.
They bring the plans to the rebels, who mount an assault on the approaching Death Star. It's coming closer and closer to blowing that planet up. Luke and R2, with the last-minute assist from Han Solo, evade Darth Vader and destroy the Death Star. All is well, and everyone but Chewbacca gets a medal.
Poor Chewie. Poor Chewie.
Everyone but Chewie gets a medal.
That's the true tragedy of Star Wars.
Yep.
Wookiee racism. Oh dear.
Always keeping the Wookiee man down.
So BlueDragonFive, like I said, it's funny because Star Wars started out as an kind of just a play on the archetypes, which is what we're going to get into. But the movies, the story itself has just kind of become so ingrained in pop culture that I almost feel like just going over it is almost kind of like, yeah, that's it. That's it.
I mean, out of all the Star Wars movies, the first, our first one here, or A New Hope, that story in particular is like, that one's the one that's ingrained to the culture. People know the beats of this one. Like, this is the one that's always referenced.
Oh yeah, I mean, we did. There have been literally like several comedy-based shows that have done pretty much like beat by beat reenactments of it, like Robot Chicken, Family Guy.
But it's like the rest don't run. There's always bits from the other two, but this is the one that's everyone. This is the story. This is like Star Wars. Literally, it was called Star Wars before New Hope was tacked on there.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the New Hope title. I think it's kind of cheesy.
That's why I picked that shirt, isn't it?
Oh, well, of course. I mean, come on. It's Star Wars. You think New Hope anywhere? I didn't think so.
I like A New Hope because Luke is the New Hope.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
It's A New Hope. It's like things have started. It's like implies that things have been going on. That's what, well, they're not going to dwell on that right now. We're going to get to that soon.
Okay, so we should probably get to what is the name of our next category, Blue Dragon? I know what it is. I just don't know the categories quite yet. Help me out here.
Light speed jump.
The light speed jump. Yes.
So the idea behind this segment, folks, light speed jump is this is like, you're in the audience and after the crawl, like mainly like before or after the crawl, you're just in there. And so this is the moment you get sucked. And this is like the moment where all the stars kind of go like go and turn the lines. It's like you're sucked into it literally.
Okay, so my grandparents owned a costume shop. And guess what one of the most popular masks was that they had that I recognized a lot before I even saw frickin' Star Wars?
C-3PO?
This guy right here. I still have one.
Oh, yeah.
So I would hear legends of this Yoda character, okay? I would hear like legends of how cool Star Wars is and how cool Yoda in particular is. And then, my parents, they took me to see Star Wars on the big screen. You know what? We'll talk about the special editions later and we'll get into all that, but for as damaging as some of the special edition changes were, I wouldn't change the fact of having the opportunity to see Star Wars on the big screen for the first time that I saw that movie for anything in the frickin' world. That's something I'll always cherish. But the thing I remember most, BlueDragonFive, out of anything about that original movie, was that there was no Yoda. I was like, I waited all this time, and you're telling me that we have to wait 6 months for the sequel to come out? And for Yoda, I don't know. It's just Yoda was hyped up so much in my family. My family just loved Yoda. I hear it like, oh, he's like 1,000 years old. There's all these stories about him and everything. And then it's like, no Yoda. No Yoda. Don't get me wrong. I like the movie. I don't want to give you that impression. I freaking love the movie. Let's talk about it right now, BlueDragonFive. Let's just give me your first impression of just like seeing, oh God, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and then the big Star Wars on.
Again, one of the biggest graces of the Star Wars, the reason that it will never die, is that John Williams score.
I'm going to be honest with you, for all the excitement that I have at A Force Awakens, the one thing that I am excited about more than anything else is just the start of that movie when the lights go dim. And we hear, and then we don't even know how they're going to do it. It's kind of a mystery. it's kind of a mystery because they don't have the 20th Century Fox logo, but we'll see the Lucasfilm logo. We'll see the long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and everyone will be so stoked up. And then Blue Dragon 5, I think you and I can both agree that moment on Thursday night when that fucking Star Wars logo pans across our screen and that John Williams score kicks in again.
Oh yeah,
that's going to be a highlight of both our lives.
You know what's going to happen. I'll tell you what's going to happen. People are going to be cheering, pumping their fists in the
course.
air. And unfortunately, we can't. Unfortunately, nowadays with occurrences which we're not going to dwell on, we can't do the people holding the lightsabers up and like support like they with Phantom Menace. But still, it's going to be electric in the air. It's going to be the moment where like all the it's going to be there's a comparison for just kind of a slight equivalent to what it is like from the black and white, not the black and white, the pencil test screening of Beauty and the Beast, where like the transformation scene, the air being sucked from the 1001, 1002 from Wake and Sleeping Beauty. It's gonna be that kind of moment.
Like everyone sitting there is just it'll be just a culmination of everything. Oh my god!
You know what I can't wait for particularly with that?
What?
I can't wait to see just the words Star Wars and then going back. Like when it just kind of like
that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
It's like it's right before the crawl though. It's like when it's like the music just bums on there and just like the Star Wars, the words are just kind of like it just does the reverse 3D effect. It goes back. When it does that, I'm just gonna be. It's gonna be so great.
Okay, we're just geeking out right now, like every other geek on the internet in these next few days.
When that happens,
let's try and keep it together. Let's try and keep it together.
Okay, but it's so you want me to go through my experience after that?
Oh yeah, by all means, by all means.
All right, there's this movie. I kind of have these three experiences with it. It's like I wasn't exactly I wasn't in the position of like choosing between Star Wars or Star Trek precisely. I was really little. I was more with the superheroes than I was with the Star Wars, so I wasn't a big sci-fi guy. So I really, for the longest time, like I didn't really, as a kid, I wasn't really gleaming towards Star Wars. I knew what it was in the culture. Like there's a C-3PO and R2-D2. They were kind of the poster childs of Star Wars, aside from of course Darth Vader being kind of the memorable image of Star Wars.
Right.
But basically you knew they were always around, so you kind of knew it, and you kind of like recognized the R2-D2 sound and stuff. But really, there were these three moments in my life that kind of really made me love Star Wars. One, it was, believe it or not, it was really. I mean, of course, it's all. As I mentioned, it plays on TV now and again. You kind of know it, so you know the story inherently, even if you haven't really watched the movies. But it was the big one for me. Was, believe it or not, it was the Empire of Dreams documentary. That's what really kind of hooked me on the Star Wars.
Oh God, I am right there with you, friend. I bought those DVDs. I watched the ever-living shit out of that documentary. Oh my god!
When I watched that was again, how really a good making of feature really kind of with Toy Story. It's kind of
that is arguably one of the best making of documentaries of all time.
Yes, but how impactful making of documentary can be. As I mentioned, like my two favorite stories in all of cinema is like the making of Toy Story and of course the making of Superman, which those featurettes and those documentaries are just like they're electric to me. But this one really just kind of showed me the intricacies of Star Wars behind the scenes and all the manpower that went into making it. But of course, the biggest thing was just how well edited the Empire of Dreams was. Is just showcasing that Star Wars footage of like just starts off like, "I'm Luke Skywalker, I'm here to rescue you." Like that moment and just that John Williams music there is like that sucked me into it. And from that point on, I remember watching it on. I had the DVD, so I mean, I had in that DVD set. Of course, you know what I'm talking about.
Of course.
And with that, I mean, I had that at my disposal, but really, believe it or not, really kind of, I just sat down and watched it, just really kind of for the first time. Aside from that, was Spike TV. It would play on Spike TV a lot.
Oh, really?
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I would check it out.
Documentary?
No, not the documentary. I'm talking about the movies.
Oh, okay. Okay, I hear you.
Yeah. So I'm saying I would watch the movies on Spike TV commercials and I would just be so kind of immersed in. There were these two sequences in particular that always kind of stick in my mind that I think define A New Hope, the first Star Wars movie. I think it's probably the cantina scene and of course them boarding the Death Star, really the iconic scene. They were the hooking scenes in them. Just like if they really like again, as I mentioned, Empire Dreams opens up with Luke Skywalker in the Stormtrooper outfit. That's what I'm saying. That iconic image, and you can imagine how psyched out of my mind for the new movie we are when you see that image of our new Jedi in the Stormtrooper outfit.
Oh yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
can imagine how thrilled I am just by that image, because pretty much my first real glimpse at Luke Skywalker. But regardless, I mean, those two sequences really just kind of hook into it. And of course, the thing that really just kind of made me a fan of Star Wars. I mean, those are things just kind of got me looking into it. And it's kind of got me, like, watching on Spike TV showed me that, man, this is a really good movie. I mean, the dialogue's really good here. It's got some good pathos. I mean, I'm starting to realize this. Empire Dreams is kind of my first kind of realization, like kind of childhood realization of that. And then what really kind of made me indoctrinated me into the fandom of Star Wars, believe it or not, that made me kind of go back to it and realize the brilliance of Star Wars was the Family Guy Blue Harvest. So that was before Family Guy lost all hope, bear in mind, and that was one of their standout things when they did Blue Harvest, the first of the Family Guy Star Wars specials, which was the best of them.
I have probably laughed harder at that than I have at any other thing ever. Granted, that was the first time I had ever smoked weed out of a bong when I watched that for the first time, so I think that might have had something to do with it. But I digress. Drugs. Yay!
Well, that kills my joyous memory, but okay. Okay, but seriously, see what I'm saying?
I was laughing my head off, man. I was just hanging on every word.
Okay, but seriously, see what I'm going for, though. Just showing you, like, there's these gags made from something that people was loving, had so much reverence and love for. All these really clever references to Star Wars, just the fandom of that kind of really just kind of introduced me to the fandom of it. And just basically those.
What Blue Harvest kind of reminds me of is it reminds me of the Simpsons commentary always had a running joke where you could just put all the Godfather references that the Simpsons has made over the years and just make a parody of the Godfather.
That essentially was what went into Blue Harvest.
That was basically what they did with Blue Harvest, yes.
I mean, and it worked very well. It was like kind of the big thing is reminding you of like all the iconic moments from Star Wars. I mean, again, it's just like you finally get why Star Wars is such an achievement with Empire of Dreams. You get to see you get to sit down with the brilliance of them, the Spike TV or the DVD versions of it, and of course, what made me really rewatch the DVDs was after just kind of seeing that how much it's impacted the culture with Family Guy. So those are the three real big pillars of my Star Wars love.
Okay, nice. All right, so what is our next category, my friend?
Next category would be the hero's journey.
The hero's journey.
I'm sorry. No, I jumped ahead. I'm sorry, folks. My notes are folded out funky. I know what our next segment is.
We're good at this. We promise.
Constructing the Death Star. That's our next
Constructing the Death Star. All right. So speaking of Empire of Dreams and making of, that's a good segue.
So again, most of this coming from my love and my memorization of that documentary, bear in mind. So basically, let me just kind of boil down the main points that we want to talk about here, just kind of celebrating all what the story behind the scenes of this movie was, just the bare points.
Can I make a blanket statement just right now, just a blanket statement?
Yeah.
I think in general, just the production design of Star Wars, just the production, what it looks like, how they crafted the world, is what drew people to Star Wars. That's what made people fall in love with Star Wars, and that's what made Star Wars feel like a real place to us.
Oh, yeah.
So I think just all the credit in the world to the production design for just going above and beyond, just like, oh, here's some weird, spaceship hallways and some funky hairdos and makeup. No, it's like, this is an alien world through and through, and it's amazing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so let me just give you the cliff notes of what went behind the making of Star Wars and the making of this movie. So George Lucas wants
I have to go into Tunisia, and it's going to be really hot, and I'm not going to like it. It's going to be really uncomfortable. I think I'm going to shoot on green screens from now on. Hayden, I need you. I apologize. Go ahead. Okay,
so George Lucas wants to do a movie in the spirit of the old movie serials, set in space with kind of the classic archetypes and the approach in that route, the archetypal approach to it. Mm-hmm. And basically, it's the style of the old movie serials with the classic archetypes for a coming-of-age story. That's the premise of Star Wars.
The thing that fascinates me about Star Wars from a cultural level is how much of a melting pot of different mythologies it is.
Absolutely.
And the fact that that melting pot in itself essentially created our new mythology. I think Star Wars has definitely taken on a mythic quality to it since
Absolutely.
1977.
It absolutely has. So, so thanks to Alan Ladd Jr., the movie got me because he invested in George Lucas. He's one of the guys working at Fox, and he put his faith in George Lucas after American Graffiti and his short film and all that stuff. He's always a big champion of George Lucas. Alan Ladd Jr., really good guy.
I have bragged that American Graffiti was shot in my hometown, right? I've bragged about that before, right?
No, you haven't.
Yes, American Graffiti was shot in my hometown of Petaluma, California. Most of the scenes were, at least. Some of it was shot in the surrounding areas, but yeah, most of it was shot here in Petaluma. Right on.
So, really, the movie, we had two people to really thank for the making of this movie.
You know the high school?
Yeah?
I went to school in that high school. I'm not even kidding you. That gym, that's where I had my frickin' prep rallies.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. I'm sorry. I think that's cool from a Star Wars fan's point of view.
So again, there are two big people we have to thank for the making of the Star Wars movies aside from George Lucas. It's got to be Alan Ladd Jr. and Ralph McQuarrie. Ralph McQuarrie's paintings helped kind of sell and style the movie.
Absolutely.
But that, again, those paintings, the last of those paintings, by the way, of course, has influenced the most current Star Wars movie in production. So that's the.
And I love the story that Anthony Daniels tells about. Well, I wasn't very sure about this Star Wars thing, and then I look at this painting of this gold man, and I just seem to connect to him. Like, this gold man is me. I am C-3PO.
Yeah, he has this great story in The Empire of Dreams where he's saying, like, Mary has like the finger extended, like like the point, like help me. That basically, I saw Ralph McQuarrie afterwards after I saw the painting. I said, "This is all your fault," So again, seriously, Ralph McQuarrie, all the points in the world, unfortunately no longer with us. But man, that guy, without him, we have no Star Wars. And
yeah, totally.
Him, Alan Ladd Jr., and of course George Lucas. Those are the three big pillars of Star Wars. Of got it off the ground in the first place. Mm-hmm. Okay, so a lot of production problems with the first one. That's the biggest thing. There are always production problems with any film, but my God, the production problems for this one. However many people.
Do you think this killed George Lucas's desire to direct?
Well, that was the point I was getting to. Yes. So, because of every movie has production problems. This is the production problem. I mean, regardless of whether you love or hate George Lucas, you always have to give him respect for it. You have to understand why he was going that direction.
Oh my God, George Lucas was such a goddamn maverick during this time period. It was ridiculous.
Because he dealt with the impossible with this movie. I always had to give George Lucas, and he was brought to the brink on this movie. So you can understand if you really want to analyze George Lucas, which, by the way, from what I hear, and I have no verification on this, is we are supposed to be getting the People versus George Lucas 2 this right around this time. So I don't know where that is. Right? We haven't heard anything about it production-wise, but it should be. The announced date was that it would come out around Force Awakens.
We need to talk about that when it comes out. But
that's the thing. I haven't heard anything about no trailers or nothing.
That's weird. Maybe he got pushed back. Maybe they might want to see what people actually feel about The Force Awakens before they start production on it.
Maybe, but I really wish they put like some announcement or something, because I cannot find information. Maybe it's been a while since I checked. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But seriously, I cannot wait for that. It's going to be about him selling to Disney. That's what that movie's about.
And then I've already pitched to you the third one would be, and I know this will never happen, but just in my fantasy world, the third one would basically be the geek version of Frost Nixon, where they sit down and George Lucas is like, yeah, all right, maybe the prequels were a bad idea.
I remember I pitched you something similar to that. I love your Frost Nixon idea. I remember that, but I just told you, if it's just talking to George Lucas in the aftermath, that they actually get a chance to talk to him.
Right,
just kind of draw the whole the Anakin George Lucas parallel to put it to a close, just seeing how far he's coming now, what the next step is for him.
That's what I'm saying. At some point, those guys need to get a Lucas interview.
I'm saying the third one has to be 3 for the novelty of the trilogies.
I mean, if they're already doing a second one, then yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But okay, enough on George Lucas versus People versus George Lucas 2, which I'm very excited for, by the way. If they're listening out there, cannot wait for it. I'm very excited for it. But regardless, I'm saying, regardless of whether you love or hate George Lucas, which is the whole plot of that movie, by the way, to People versus George Lucas, which is another thing people should check out. If you love Empire Dreams, you're going to love that.
Really quick, I don't suppose you ever saw From Star Wars to Jedi, did you?
I don't think so. The name doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, that was a making of feature that they did right when Return of the Jedi came out, and it was like 40 minutes long. It mostly focused on Return of the Jedi. There were a few Star Wars and Empire things in there. What I remember was it was at my video store, and it was a free rental. So every time I would go to the video store, I'd get like, oh, I want this, this, and this. And then I want this Star Wars documentary because it's free, and it's cool because it talks about filmmaking. And it was awesome because, you know, you would see like the really old school making of footage, you know, before the practical effect, before the special editions or anything like that came into the picture. Look it up. It's on YouTube, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so again, so whether they love George Lucas or hate him, they always have to give him credit for like kind of still enduring this. And of course, if you want to really analyze George Lucas, again, kind of in People versus George Lucas style here, you would see that because of the stress he endured on this thing, he took the hands-off approach to the other ones. And when he was back in the director's chair, you can understand why he wouldn't. It's like psychological damage. He's like he still has trauma from this movie in a way. That's the reason he didn't take on the outdoorsy approach following this.
At this point in time, like in this point where we are in history, I feel kind of bad for him. I do.
Yeah, I do, especially now. Like he's getting hounded like crazy about his.
I know. It's like just leave him alone, guys. If anything, the guy is one hell of a businessman. Like if anything, the guy is one of the most freaking genius, insane businessmen that we've ever seen, and I give him props for that.
I always err on the positive side of George Lucas because of all the good he's done.
Right, exactly.
Regardless, though, I mean, just the point is, like, you can kind of see maybe there's like an interesting level there, like potential kind of.
I'm not saying the prequels didn't suck. Attack of the Clones is straight up painful to watch, but
yeah, you see what I'm saying? There's like some potential trauma from this movie that kind of still impacted them to the direction the prequels went in a way, which is very interesting when you think about it.
But it's kind of like, you know, if you're in his shoes, if I don't know, BlueDragonFive, like what would be your dream scenario? Like you direct the James Gordon on-screen cinematic trilogy or something like that?
That's a cheap shot, Tiki. That's a cheap shot.
Okay, so you direct the James Gordon trilogy. And then it's like the best fucking trilogy. It's like people are saying it's like the best. It's like an awesome fusion of film noir and superhero. And people are just like, oh my God, this is like a new level of superhero movies. And then you do like a Gotham style, like Batman Year One trilogy of Gordon films, and it's just like boo, boo.
Hey, again,
How would you feel?
I would feel very sad.
That's what I'm saying. That's because it's something that's so near and dear to your heart, and you're so passionate about it.
Oh yeah. Right, but yeah, it's yeah. Anyway, that's the thing. You can understand absolutely what Lucas was thinking with the prequels, all that stuff factoring into it. There, all the stresses, and it makes this film all the more impressive. All the stuff he endured and still end up making it work.
Oh yeah.
And smartly taking the hands-off approach, just kind of helping write it and just kind of overseeing it with the other two. It just works phenomenally for him too. Mm-hmm. Anyway, like I said, there's a lot of production problems. I'm just going to list off a few of them. There was the really hard shoot in Tunisia with the hot sun and a lot of failed props.
And for that reason, anytime I see any shot in the movie that's outdoors in the desert, I just give it props on just the sheer merit of existing in the damn first place.
I mean, you got to bear in mind, like he even tried going back to Tunisia. I want to say it was still Tunisia. He went back to Tunisia for Phantom Menace, and still disaster struck in the opposite way. It was like a giant storm. There was like a rainstorm or something. So again, that just pushed him over there. This is why he never went back to the practical sets, because he never went back to the outdoor for the on-location sets.
But all those like really broad, wide shots of Anthony Daniels in the C-3PO suit, just like shuffling his way across the brutal, like beating hot sun. Oh man!
And literally, I was watching something before this just to kind of get me in the Star Wars mood. Anthony Daniels mentioned like people were asking or like talking around him, saying like they were asking each other, "Well, you think the metal's gonna melt?" Basic question: if the metal, the plastic around the suit would melt in the hot sun, wouldn't you be intimidated if you were playing that character? If you heard,
I would be kind of terrified. Yeah, at that heat, yeah, that would not be fun.
Like third-degree melted burns on you.
It's basically like what you're
Firefly
wearing
from
is
Gotham.
yeah, it's a terrifying way to go, actually, when you think about it. Oh dear, R2, it seems that my skin is turning on me, and it is melting me, R2.
No, I'm saying the more horrific version in the middle of a take is like saying a line, to you and just writhing on the ground. The dark undersuit is like peering through like the open plastic, just grafting onto him.
Oh, that's brutal. That's brutal.
It is. Again, that's the danger that was associated with this shoot, folks. That's just showing how impressive it is. Okay, anyway, so basically, hard shoot Tunisia, hot sun, failing props, bad prequel editing to contend with. So, I mean, George Lucas, here's the thing you have to say, George Lucas, he was a terrible editor, apparently. Great.
Okay.
That's the thing. So, that in the Empire Dreams, there was this big point that Mr. Plinkett showed excellently, by the way, in his take on the prequels. That literally, that was George Lucas's. That was one of the big flaws that with the prequels is that his editing was very standard, very basic, and that was one of the initial cuts of Star Wars was very bad because of that. It didn't have any energy to it. It was just really kind of bland and boring, which the prequels, basically all their dialogue scenes had no energy to them whatsoever, which you can definitely see in Sand. It's so coarse. So basically, because so you had a lot of bad editing to contend with, and of course the effects weren't shaping up. The release was dawning closer, which again is such an odd way the world works, because now the new Star Wars movie actually is coming around the Christmas date. Exactly. Where back in the day, it was a Christmas date because all this production stuff was moved to the summer. And let's see, the release dates had to be changed. And basically, it was getting to the point where Lucas literally had a big health scare. I mean, he feared, he had hypertension. He was like bicycling to the studio and had to see the doctor. I mean, it was very terrifying. He put himself to the very brink. Mm-hmm. Pushed himself to the very brink, but thanks to ILM's effects, thanks to the new editing team and his wife, his ex-wife now, but his wife at the time, Marcia Lucas, and of course the two big elements, two big kind of saving graces, Ben Burtt on the sound design and John Williams on the score. We have the film we have today.
Oh yeah.
It all tied together in the end because of the great people Lucas surrounded himself with, and of course his drive of like not giving up.
No, and it's a whole crew of people, and that's one of the big things I have with the special editions is just how much people's hard work kind of got edited out. But we won't kind of dwell on that yet. But it's just a big crew of people that made it happen. It's the ILM guys, it's the guys making the models of the Death Star, it's the guys making the props. It's the
guys on their knees of the Death Star trench, like moving that camera.
Exactly. Just literal blood, sweat, and tears are in these props and in these costumes and everything. And
original Star Wars, no CG whatsoever. It's blue screen. That's the most they got with that.
Right. Exactly.
That's all I have for the constructing the Death Star. Again, it was probably the most harrowing shoot of all the Star Wars original trilogy films. But still, the next one has some issues that, don't get me wrong, but this one still it broke George Lucas essentially.
Oh, poor George!
And yet, it still turned out one of the most iconic Star Wars films in the whole trilogy.
I still go back and forth between this one and Empire.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
I'm not gonna lie.
I know. I'm just saying, like, literally beat for beat, this whole thing, New Hope is known by every beat.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing, man. Like, I won't argue that Empire is probably the better overall story, probably has better overall dialogue and character arcs and all that good stuff.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I adore Empire. Don't get me wrong.
But Empire doesn't have the Tashi station power converters thing. Empire doesn't have the cantina. Empire doesn't. I don't know.
Yep.
When I was a kid, I actually kind of found Empire somewhat I hate to like boring's not the right.
Don't say it.
Boring's not the right word. I'm not going to say boring, but it was just like it was too dark for me. I didn't really gel with Empire until I was older.
Okay, well, speaking of Cantina, let's go to our segment here called the Cantina Meet and Greet, where we get to know our characters, kind of list off our characters here. Going to Mos Eisley.
Oh yeah, where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. All right.
Uncle Owen, I need to go to the Tashi station to pick up some power converters.
Pick up some power converters.
Oh, we love Mark Hamill. So, speaking of Mark Hamill, our first guy up, Luke Skywalker, played excellently by a very young Mark Hamill, 19-year-old.
I wouldn't say excellently quite yet. This isn't like method actor crazy Mark Hamill quite yet.
No. Mark Hamill, he still applies some great subtle acting here. Just kind of this, he plays.
I mean, look. I'm not saying it's bad acting. I'm just saying like Mark Hamill has turned into what he is through years and years of experience, and his performance in this movie is not years and years of experience.
I know it's not one of. Again, this is like early, if not his first feature film, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, though, he has these great subtle moments of acting. They're just like kind of taking in all these changes going on around him. He has these great moments of kind of aftermath.
Now, of course, one of the big iconic moments that we always have to go to with Luke is the twin sons.
Yes. We'll be.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think he plays in this movie particularly. He plays the quiet side of Luke. Excellent.
He does. Yeah.
I'm saying for a first role, if not an early role, I think he does a really good job with him. He's a solid lead. He's a compelling lead. I mean, he has these moments of like you can tell this kid, this is the kid you want to root for. At least the earnest guy walking in the room saying, "I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you." I mean, you're rooting for this guy. Yeah. Okay. So next we should go to our big star power, Harrison Ford playing, of course,
Han Solo. Oh boy.
Han Solo.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much one of the big reasons why people are so jazzed up on Force Awakens. It's not just the fact that this guy's in the movie, but the fact that this guy is so utterly like enthusiastic about being a part of it.
Oh yeah, you gotta bear in mind, it's always been a little not controversial is the wrong word, but it's always been kind of up in the air, like how into the Star Wars movie Harrison Ford has been. But he's actually genuinely excited for this one.
He is.
Yeah, he was the guy who's like suggesting Han Solo be killed off in the third one.
No, in the second one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I mean, third one remember, it was the idea they were going to thaw him and they were still going to be dead. But he's been pitching it for a while, though.
That would have been stupid.
Well, he's been pitching it for a while. That's the idea. He just didn't want to come back for the. Regardless,
that would have been stupid if they went all the way to Jabba's palace and then he just turned out to be dead.
All I'm saying is from Empire Dreams, I believe that's what they're communicating when he's talking about, because they're talking about it right at that point, and it's also like saying in Jedi they wanted him to be written out somehow.
All right, I believe you.
Yeah, I mean, either way, I mean, they don't really still wanted death in at the end of the Empire, because that still would have been dramatic, but they kept it up in the air because they weren't sure what to do yet. Anyway, point is, Han Solo, of course, he's the big standout here because he's kind of he's our Star Lord for this movie essentially.
Oh no! Fuck that. Han Solo is Star Lord. Come on.
Why'd you say no then?
Because I'm saying what you're saying is that Star Lord started the archetype. No, Han Solo is the archetype. Han Solo puts Star Lord to shame, and I love Star Lord. I'm just saying that is the awesome, iconic magnitude of Han Solo.
In the modern context, he's like the Star Lord. Of course, in the classic context, Han Solo is the archetype for that.
In the modern context, sure, whatever. Like, look, I love Star Lord. I freaking love Star Lord. Give me more Star Lord. Guardians of the Galaxy is my favorite Marvel movie, hands down.
I know. I'm just saying that. Of course, they have similarities.
Of course they do.
I know Han started. I didn't know Han started. It's like the whole Han shot first. I know Han came first.
Yeah, no, don't you forget it. Han
I'm
definitely
just saying,
first.
he's kind of like he's the big kind of beloved character. He's the big kind of the beloved swashbuckler.
You know what I think it is?
The roguish charm.
I don't think it's just Han. I think it's just the image of Han and Chewie together. I think is what really sells it.
Of course, some people would be saying, "I should change his name to Hans instead of Han Solo, the Han Duo."
But Chewbacca, just really quick about Chewbacca, just right away, it's like he doesn't even have a language. He just has the growling noise, which somehow translates to words in an "I am Groot" kind of way, I guess.
And by the way, on the set, you would actually hear him say the dialogue.
Oh, I know. And I remember when I first saw a making of documentary that showed that, I was actually kind of traumatized by it.
By the way, I have actually
freaked me out.
I've met Peter Mayhew. I've met Chewbacca in person. Nice guy.
From what I hear, yeah. Sounds awesome. Okay.
Okay, so Princess Leia.
Leia. She's
Carrie Fisher.
Right from the get-go, she's just a really strong, powerful character.
Oh yeah, it doesn't take any crap from anyone, that Princess Leia. You don't want to mess with her.
She's got a few cornball on those lines, like the whole thing about
yes, Governor Tuck, and I should have known you'd be holding Vader's leash. I recognize you a foul stench from the I boarded here.
You know what? I'll give you the one moment that I'm so glad Family Guy riffed on because it's always bothered me. You want to guess what it is?
What?
It's the whole "I'm Luke Skywalker and I'm here to right," and it's like, aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper? And then I love how in the Family Guy version, it's like Lois is like, aren't you a little fat to be a stormtrooper? And then Peter, he's just like, well, hold on, lady.
Chris.
Oh, it's Chris?
Yes, it's Chris, Tiki.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, geez, excuse me. It's been a while. But still, you know what I'm sorry, but you know what I'm saying. It's just the whole like, well, excuse me. It's like here I am trying to rescue you, and you're making a comment about my weight or my height. Well, geez, maybe I'm just gonna leave you in here now. Yep. I don't know. That's the one Leia moment that always has bothered me. And Leia's a really great character, but just the one jab like, oh, aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper? What do you think about that?
I think it's kind of funny. It's like saying, well, yeah, obviously he's not a stormtrooper. That's the idea. It is kind of insulting, yeah, but
I mean, he fits into the stormtrooper outfit. There must be at least one stormtrooper that's that short.
Yeah, but there's also maybe there might be some excess kind of black stuff in between the white armor that we're not seeing. I don't know. It's a cutesy line. I forgive it. Maybe you're sucked into it so far. How can you not just? Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, she's good, and I like how bold she is right off the gate with Vader. You know what I mean? Like she is the one that's really driving the story before anyone else.
Big thing to remember, Leia. She's tortured by that ball.
Oh, of course.
Remember, she's tortured by the spiky ball. Remember, the needles and everything. You gotta remember, she endured all that torture, and she still gave him nothing.
She watched her freaking planet blow up. I mean, she goes through a lot in this movie.
And she pulled a Superman. She lost her home planet.
Oh god.
Anyways, let's see. C-3PO R2-D2 versus Anthony Daniels and Kenny Baker.
Just freaking iconic, man. Just I don't know. Some people give these two shit. I think the saga wouldn't be what it was without them in it. I think they're the perfect flavor to add to this thing.
The only characters in all 6 of the going on 7 now. All 7 of the Star Wars movies.
Of course, C-3PO is now rocking the mysterious red arm.
Yep. I mean, you gotta remember the whole thing in a nutshell. It starts with C-3PO and R2-D2 walking out. They're the first characters you see. There's no Star Wars without these two. Remember,
this is madness.
There is no Star Wars without C-3PO and R2-D2. You need them because remember they carrying the Death Star plans, just kind of like pointing them in the direction of Luke Skywalker. That's what these two bring to the table. You need them.
You know, one of my favorite C-3PO and R2-D2 moments that doesn't get brought up a lot is...
I know what it is. I think I know what it is.
It's when they're when they just get onto Tatooine and C-3PO is just bickering about like, well, I'm not going that way. No, you can go that way. That way is far too rugged. I'm going this way. You can go get yourself killed. I'm going this way. I'm not following you anymore, R2-D2.
I love the subtle follow-up, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
Okay, regardless. Yeah, remember, like they're both very pivotal to the plot in many ways. Again, they are kind of like they've been described as there have been many descriptions, kind of the tin-plated Jay and Silent Bob. You know, the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of Star Wars. You know, there's always been so many comparisons. The Abbott and Costello of Star Wars, which is kind of.
I think Abbott Costello is one of the best comparisons.
That's one I can jive to. At least me. Laurel and Hardy Star Wars. You know, that's based on the archetypes, which we'll get to. Meanwhile, let's talk about our big baddies.
Oh boy.
Well, actually, wait, one more good guy. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Of course. Come on.
Alec Guinness turning an excellent performance. Even though he didn't really want to be there, but he gave an excellent performance.
No, that's not. I mean,
he didn't complain. That's the main thing. He didn't complain on the set, which you gotta impress. I mean, can you blame him for not being happy being on the set? Because he's in the hot sun in a robe in Tunisia. Can you blame him?
No, absolutely. But I give him props for professionalism. Though.
That's the thing. No, he's such a good actor. He turns in a great performance, regardless. I mean, Obi-Wan Kenobi is the strongest performance in that movie, debatably.
Oh, without a doubt. I think without a doubt, yeah.
I mean, it's between Obi-Wan and Harrison Ford.
I think Harrison kind of reaches his crescendo in Empire.
Of course. Let me know, we get tons of great Han moments in this movie, though.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, let's see. So let's get to our big baddies. Starting with the granddaddy, literally, Darth Vader.
Oh dear.
So wow. So David Prowse is our physical body, and of course the wonderful, the incomparable James Earl Jones.
So just let me ask you, what was your first reaction to seeing Vader the first time you saw Star Wars?
I love just the visual image of like this all black coated in black figure walking onto this white set. It was just so
that was striking.
Just walking onto like the gleamed floor and just then instantly grabbing a guy by the throat, lifting up, and just like him barking the order. Bring me the prisoners. I want them alive. I will never forget that line. I don't want them alive.
I want them alive.
Guess Vader.
You know what really struck me though was that goddamn breathing.
Just the guy walking in there, just this black figure walking in there with a cape. Oh.
But like when I heard that breathing though, I think that breathing is probably maybe Ben Burke's best single sound effect in all of Star Wars.
Or the way they achieved that, put like a little microphone in the respirator of a scuba tank.
Oh God! So
most
good.
Iconic asthmatic in all of cinema.
Right.
I know Wheezy the Squeeze Toy Penguin is up there, but he's no Vader.
And then General Grievous can just go suck it.
Yeah, well, now he can, but you know.
All right.
Okay, let's see. So Governor Tarkin, Peter Cushing, good performance.
There's a whole comic book about this guy that I'm kind of interested in reading.
There's always a bunch of stuff with Tarkin. People love Tarkin. That was seriously. Tarkin was just kind of that great. He was the perfect. the best thing I can say about Governor Tarkin, which again we'll kind of piggyback all this stuff in just a moment here. But Governor Tarkin, he is the perfect representation of the Empire for this movie. He's the flawless representation of what we're fighting against in this movie.
Sure.
This is the best thing you can say about Peter Cushing's performance. And he communicates so much just kind of as the character he plays. He's such a great embodiment of what the whole Empire is, this faceless entity is.
This is what we're about, and this is how we're going to do it, and this is how easy it will be.
Oh, yeah. We'll deal with your rebel friends soon enough.
Oh, boy.
Charming to the last. Just, such a great performance. Okay, Greedo, just the little thing Greedo.
Oh, God. Really? Do we have to talk about fucking Greedo?
Just a little. We'll talk about him a lot later on.
I want to talk about one thing with Greedo. Do you think that the kid from Force Awakens, the little Greedo baby, do you think that's actually Greedo? Or I'm sorry, not Force Awakens, Phantom Menace. Yeah.
I think the idea is that he's Greedo, whether
I
one
would
be Greedo.
so love to think that that's freaking Greedo.
I'm like 80% sure that's intended to be Greedo.
I mean, what do you want? What do you want from Greedo? He's the worst shot in the world. Thanks to George Lucas.
Well, yeah, we'll get on that just when we get to the category. But regardless, I'm just saying Greedo is just kind of a cool looking bounty.
I'm trying to do the Han Solo like.
Well, no, save it for later, would you? Regardless, so Greedo though, he's a really coolly designed bounty hunter though.
He's fine. I don't think he's one of the better designs in Star Wars.
I'm just saying it's a solid design for this movie though. So it's the green and green, the vest and everything. It looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Greedo is implanted in everyone's memories because of the controversy, but still,
Exactly. Right. That's why it's hard to talk about him any other way.
because of that, though, you always remember that look because when people say Greedo, the Greedo shot first thing, like you remember, like that. I get so embedded in your mind from just kind of everything in that sequence because people have been rewatching it so many times.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't need to really talk about Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. Just that, I think we can just sum up.
I like Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, though. I think they're nice.
I like them also. I mean, they're kind of like the mom and pop.
They're pleasant.
They are pleasant. I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying, there's not a lot to add to them. I think we just sum up with one line. Uncle Owen, I don't want to. I was going to go to Tashi Station to get some power converters.
Get some power converters.
No, but seriously, there's Uncle Owen and Aunt Emperor. They were solid. They were kind of like the mom and pop.
Uncle Owen's a bit of a racist towards droids. That's a thing.
Well, it wasn't exactly. It was. Yeah, it's kind of racist.
Yeah, that's kind of a thing.
But that's the thing. Technically, they're not. You remember, they're machines. So they're not. It's a little.
So are you saying they don't have fucking feelings?
I'm saying most maybe don't. I'm saying the majority. Our primary guys do. But then again, that's the thing. It's a question of the consciousness thing in Star Wars because I'm trying to think of any non-personality infused droids in Star Wars. I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to think if there's just any regularly pre-programmed droids.
I don't know, but we could be down this road a while.
Yeah, so let's just say, that's kind of the second-class citizens of droids are definitely a fixture of this movie. Okay, anyways, let's go to the journey. So let's get into kind of the arcs our hero's journey. The arcs our characters embarked on.
Oh boy. So
with Luke.
Now let's just talk about the whole idea of George Lucas taking this whole hero's journey concept.
Well, that would be saved for another segment, Tiki.
Yeah, no, it will. But I'm just saying, just in terms of how it relates to just the characters in general, because Luke, he's going on a very similar. He's the young kid who gets plucked out of his environment. He gets thrust into this war that he's always wanted to be a part of, and he gets a chance to prove himself.
Oh yeah, I mean, Luke starts off as the farm boy who wants to aid in the rebellion. He's informed of his arc just continues on there. He's informed of his Jedi heritage after all these doors have been slammed in his face. So it's this big kind of you're part of this grander scheme here. Like you actually have an embedded role in this. Right. And he's allowed to be heroic. He's the hero who wants to be heroic. But he hasn't been allowed the opportunity. Now he has. His human ties are now gone with the murder of his aunt and uncle. It's in a way, what's so interesting about Luke's arc here is you really kind of look into it or rewatching it. It's that in many ways, Luke in the comics right now, the awesome Star Wars comics right now, they're really looking into this sort of stuff because they're really kind of bridging the gaps between New Hope and Empire.
Okay.
It's Luke in many ways living up to his father's legacy, and you can tell that in this movie because think about it. He's told by Obi-Wan, his father was a gifted pilot, good friend. He was a Jedi, and of course, you see in this movie Luke kind of doing all those things. He's kind of trying to live up to the Jedi thing. You see, he's a great pilot.
Mm-hmm.
In many ways, just kind of living up to this knowledge of his father being this great thing. He's a heroic guy. He's trying to be more heroic.
Yeah, which of course I don't know. To tell you the truth, it's really hard to talk about these arcs in general without talking about the whole thing. I'm sort of struggling with this.
Fine, we'll talk about the whole thing. Just forget the subtlety.
No, I don't care. I don't care. This is your thing, man. Do what you want. I'm just like I'm trying to I'm trying to like not draw parallels with Vader being the father and everything like that, because that obviously comes into the picture.
Well, we can talk about it. We'll just save the other segment more for thematic overall stuff.
I don't know what to do. It's like, especially for this movie in particular, because literally, like, the types of characters that they are, like, that's their arc. You know what I mean? Like Luke Skywalker, he's the bright-eyed kid who gets sent on an adventure. Harrison Ford's the, the rogue who, who, I don't know. I get you want to talk about Harrison Ford because he has more of a defined arc. Let's break his arc.
Well, let me finish on Luke a little bit here.
Okay, but just don't get into the comics. That's where I start phasing.
I'm not getting in. I'm just mentioning the comic. You don't need the.
I'm sorry.
In this movie, though, you can see he's living up to his father's legacy in a way. Again, we're just seeing him like by the end of this movie being the awesome pilot he is in that sequence. That's what I'm saying. He's living throughout this movie. You can see him living up to his father's legacy, which is something the comics have been spun upon a little further. So the point is that we see Luke. He definitely cares about people. He's more about kind of the human attachments rather than the grand scheme like Leia is.
Right.
Yeah, like what the whole rebellion caused, like is Luke kind of looking more on the ground level there. He cares about people. Like he met Ben Kenobi, he cares about it when it goes.
Hmm.
It's by the end of the story, it's like the end of Luke's arc to this movie. So, he gets what he wanted, to join a cause and to stop the bad guys. It's very simple, very simple, heroic, and he got what he wanted.
Yeah.
Like in this first act in Luke's arc, it's just that everything came up 7 for him. Aside from the murder of his aunt and uncle, everything came up 7.
Which really kind of gets brushed under the rug very quickly.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong, there were some burning carcasses, but anyway, so I guess so you want to go to Han next, then?
Yeah, because I think Han, probably out of any character in the movie, has the most defined character arc that sort of like begins and ends within the context of this movie, if that makes any sense.
Definitely, Han is probably the biggest case of that. We start him off. He's the smuggler who's in over his head, and basically, he's indebted to Jabba the Hutt at the beginning of the thing, where Greedo comes in there and he's telling him, you owe Jabba the Hutt a lot of money. Is Han Solo just kind of living by the seat of his pants, just kind of like trying to get by until his next debtor just tries to kill him.
Right.
So, it's kind of interesting. It's like we start Han Solo off just in an awesome position, It's like being like just always like kind of like Aladdin style, like one step ahead of the game.
In a way, yeah. People are definitely trying to kill him.
Oh yeah. He gets. We see him, getting wrapped up in more than he bargained for from the cantina scene, where all he's expecting is just the just he drop these people off at Alderaan, and he's going to get his money, he's going to get out of there. But he gets more than he bargained for.
It's a little bit of personal investment there, just a little personally involved, just a little bit.
And what's great and what's connected to Luke's arc here is that Han, he's getting to know Luke again. It's kind of the human interaction level that Luke brings here, just kind of getting to know people.
Sure.
Han Solo, it's like the idea of like Han Solo, like really, if you're just passing him on the street, you wouldn't pay much mind at all. Wouldn't really care. But if you the equivalent being like if you go to the canteen, you share a few blue milks with them, it'll get to be buddies. Yeah, it's the idea.
That the guy who doesn't like Luke Skywalker would get along with Han Solo.
Again, if they had like kind of like in Guardians of the Galaxy, where again just showing it better, Star Wars kind of laid the groundwork for this. Just want to make that clear. If it's like showing off the old drink, aren't you? But but seriously, it's just this idea of like in Guardians of the Galaxy, they have this bit where like they're all drinking and becoming buddies. Like let's put more of this blue beverage in our bodies. That's sort of camaraderie. So maybe Han Solo could actually bond with that guy. They have some good times in the cantina.
I actually like you, and my friend likes you too.
That's what I'm saying. But seriously, there's looking at the arc between these two guys, just kind of getting to know each other after a while. Like they go through these shenanigans together. Han and Luke, and just like they're suddenly on this adventure together, and they're having back and forth and relying on each other. So it's like Han Solo, like with anyone really, if he were to be wrapped up in an adventure with him, like Lando Calrissian, we're going to find.
Oh boy!
Camaraderie will be forged. Like he will know this guy, and he'll be like, I can sit down with this guy. He's not just like some person passing by. I mean, this kid has saved my bacon. I've saved his. We're kind of friends.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
Han, first of all, aside from Chewbacca, he has no friends in the world. That's the real idea. Aside from just people who they are his friends, but they can still turn on him on a dime. But Luke is his first actual friend aside from Chewbacca.
Mm-hmm.
Which is moving, which is nice. You're showing Han Solo's humanity starting to come through. He's starting to become more of a fully rounded person.
And throughout the trilogy, the rebels do become his surrogate family.
Yes, absolutely. He bonds. He's just bonding with Luke, and especially he also gets to bond with Leia through a lot of banter in this first movie. There's a lot of like anti-romantic banter. And again, of course, by the end, Han Solo he swoops and saves the day again, just kind of showing his friendship with Luke Skywalker coming to full fruition. Like he's out of the cause. Like I don't know these people anything. I just got my money. I'm out of here. Oh, sure, Han, that's what you're good at. Right. Han's thinking on, they stewing on that. Well, you know what? This kid saved my bacon. I kind of like that kid. And he's coming back there. Whoa! That's. Meanwhile, maybe we should get to our. Should we get to Leia or Chewie next?
I mean, let's get to Chewie because he's connected to Han. Why didn't he get a medal?
Yeah, seriously, why didn't of course the actual reasons I guess they ran out of medals.
Why?
I'm saying like properly they didn't build any more medals.
Oh, okay. I'm
saying that's literally why it's that way. I'm not saying he didn't deserve that.
Poor Chewbacca.
And I love that's the one thing. All these fan cuts, and I know I'm touching on something we're going to talk about a little later, but seriously though. Of all the fan cuts, is the ones where they give them Chewbacca the medal. That's the little touches I would like to see.
Right.
The medal. That's all. We got shot at. Come on. He co-piloted the Millennium Falcon at the end. Okay. Anyway. No, seriously. Chewie he's in the same boat as Han, as you can imagine, and being longtime friends, which is a great idea to have this this established friendship between the two of them, like they're on the same wavelength. These two guys, like Han Solo, he warn people, you might not want to let yourself win. Yeah, better let the Wookiee win, or else you'll rip your arms from your sockets.
I just imagine these two as like '60s drifters for some reason. Like Han Solo is kind of like the Kurt Russell type, and then Chewbacca is kind of like the long-haired hippie type.
Well, of course, the big idea here is that it's one of the ideas with Guardians of the Galaxy is that it's kind of like Groot and Rocket Raccoon are based.
Of course.
They're based on the Han Solo Chewbacca dynamic, where Chewbacca is Groot and then Rocket Raccoon is Han Solo. He's a self-proclaimed Han Solo.
Which works totally well.
Yeah, and it's interesting about Chewbacca. There's some great subtlety with Chewbacca. And tell me if you think I'm wrong here, Tiki.
Okay.
That, like Chewbacca and Han Solo are in the same boat. They're kind of like a united front on many things. But Chewbacca seems to me, like in the Cantina scene specifically, Chewbacca seems to be kind of the more neutral guy. Like he's the one willing to invest in this cause first. Like once, like I think like he's a little. I'm thinking more so in terms of like Empire Strikes Back, where like Chewbacca's like hugging Luke and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking like Chewbacca strikes me as a character is going to be kind of leaning more towards the bigger picture than Han Solo. It was like he's a little less kind of thick-headed in many senses. Like think about it, Chewbacca's the guy who's talking to Obi-Wan, who basically brings him over to the table to talk to Han Solo. So Chewbacca's the business guy of the relationship.
Yeah, you're right.
I love that idea that Chewbacca's kind of the front runner, Han Solo's kind of the big guns, and it's kind of the reverse of what you would assume in that case. Like he's the business savvy one, where Han Solo is the one with all the skills. It's in this great friendship and dynamic they have. It's like Chewbacca's kind of the smart thinker of the group.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I'd like to think that. That's really his arc. His arc is like eventually
kind of Donatello.
I'm not really that good with the Ninja Turtle parallels, but yeah, I think
Donatello was the smart one who invented things.
No, wait, yeah, Leonardo was the leader of Donatello. I'm sorry.
Right.
Sorry. Yeah, I think that might be it. I don't know. I'm thinking more like kind of like he's the like Chewbacca in a way is like the Bud Abbott on Solo's.
Oh god, more Abbott and Costello.
I love my Abbott Costello. But anyway, seriously, like same boat really with the arcs really for these two. You just see this great friendship though. Okay, so Princess Leia.
Well, I mean, as we said, I think we kind of covered a lot of her.
Well, no, her arc is very interesting. I'm just going to breeze through it real quick then.
Yeah, go for it.
Really, when you think about it, Princess Leia, she is spearheading the rebellion here. It's the idea, like, Alderaan is like assisting in the efforts, like, other planets. I can assume Coruscant kind of like lost hope once the Empire took over, as my guess.
Right.
Looking at it just in this movie, standing alone here, she's spearheading this rebellion. Like, she's like one of the big backers of the rebellion from her plan, which is a big risk. They took a risk. They're going against the Empire that's sweeping the nation. It's like you're going against the Nazis essentially.
Uh-huh.
You're putting your flag forward there, and
tons of Nazi symbolism, tons of Nazi symbolism everywhere in Star Wars. Oh my god! Of course,
like the minute Leia is kind of spotted, it's like it spells doom for her planet. So again, the instant these guys are spotted, like they know, okay, Alderaan's connected to this, which always puts your planet in peril. Which is again is a risk we can assume they've all agreed on to just kind of help end the Empire. So again, basically, Princess Leia, she spearheads this rebellion, but she takes a risk, and the cost of this risk, of course, is her home planet. Which, the minute her planet, again, it's similar way Luke. If you look at Luke's arc here, Luke essentially lost his only remaining ties to Tatooine, which means he's now invested in this cause. So Leia, we could maybe speculate, is now loss of her planet. She has nowhere to go back to now, so she's fully invested in this cause. So instead of just being kind of like, essentially like the rich person donating to a cause, she's actually now, this is all she has left.
Right.
All her family and friends, it's gone. So she's now fully invested in this endeavor, like Luke is. And it's like
a point I never really thought about. You're right.
And with Han Solo, in a way, especially, I think this goes even more for Leia. Is that Leia finds a new family with her intrepid brew of friends here. She forges this new family.
Well, maybe perhaps that's why Han Solo and Leia forged the bond that they do, is that they're both kind of outsiders in this thing.
That's the thing. I mean, they bicker like a married couple right off the bat.
You totally do.
Again, that's the idea. It's like it's an instant family. It's from just that shot of them all like in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. It's like it's all of them just kind of together as this little family unit.
Right.
Okay, let's see. So then, I guess Obi-Wan would be next.
Obi-Wan. Well, I mean, Obi-Wan is just the Uncle Ben.
He is not just the Uncle Ben, because of course he's got.
Well, no, he's not just the Uncle Ben, but I'm saying in terms of his arc, he's the wise old man who's supposed to be the father figure who dies giving our main hero a crucial piece of advice.
Yeah, he's this wise hermit character filled with. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to give this a fair pass, like not factoring in the prequels. That's the thing. But I think there's enough here to maybe suggest.
I don't recall ever owning a droid.
Yeah, but seriously, just looking at it here, it's
only been 20 years. I must have been on some really fucked up drugs in between now and then.
Okay.
All right, I'm done.
But with Obi-Wan,
that's when Ewan McGregor went and did Train Spotting.
With Obi-Wan here, it's like he's this wise, kind of hermitized guy, who's just kind of separated on the outskirts, just like waiting for something. Just kind of with Luke kind of now coming to him, he's filled with purpose again. I don't want to factor in the prequels too much, but I think there might be just enough there. You get a sense this guy's just been waiting for something.
Well, I do love that whole scene of, just building up Anakin Skywalker and everything. That is the lore right there. The prequels aren't the lore. That scene is the lore.
Yeah, he sees hope in Luke of it's a way of the big thing in that scene. One of my favorite scenes, which we'll get to in a moment. One of my absolute favorite scenes. It's got to be when Obi-Wan is just kind of, he's realizing that, Luke is kind of the way of bringing back the Jedi, honoring the Jedi in a way. Basically he was, that's the big thing he sees in Luke, just kind of hope of restoring the Jedi Order in some way, honoring all his fallen comrades, which he exposits in that beautiful scene, which again, we'll talk about a little more detail in a moment. But, he's confronted by Vader and he chooses to sacrifice basically chooses, this is an interesting thing rewatching. He chooses to sacrifice himself so he won't be in an encumbrance on the journey. So his physical body will be gone, so it's not someone people have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
In turn, he will be the wiser, more powerful mentor. So he will be unkillable, and he will not have to be like someone for the protagonist to worry about.
Yeah, so he evolves the iconic line, one of the best lines, "If you strike me down, I shall be more powerful than you can possibly imagine."
So again, he's evolved into the ultimate teacher form in a way, just kind of the voice in the head.
And then he just kind of dicks around and sits on a log for most of the rest of the movies.
Well, that was more the third one.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking.
Okay, I guess we should talk about C-3PO.
Well, Luke, it's getting awkward. I guess I should tell you that Leia's your sister now before anything else happens.
Anything else? But what about last Friday? Oh, don't tell me about last Friday. Oh,
no.
when I kiss you, it's like I'm kissing my brother.
Oh no. Oh no.
Sorry, that's a hilarious gag that they did not work into. For some reason, they didn't work into the second Family Guy Star Wars. They pitched it, but it didn't go through. Why? I have no idea. The ultimate Back to the Future Star Wars crossover.
Okay.
Anyway, let's see. C-3PO. It's kind of like a buddy movie dynamic he has with the R2-D2. And again, buddy movie, just all
Can
the
we just pair these two together? We don't really have to talk about them apart, right?
Well, I mean, I guess we can talk about them together. But, I mean, the C-3PO specifically, it's a buddy movie dynamic. Again, kind of talking about Toy Story all this time, kind of made me really think about that because, he's lumped with R2-D2 at first. And the first chance he gets, he leaves him, as you mentioned. He's like,
right. Well, I'm not going that way. You can go over that way, but I'm not going that way.
I mean, it's like the Dinoco scene from Toy Story. It's like, well, good riddance, you loony. And he wants to leave him at the first sign of trouble. He's like, oh, you're nuts. Get out of here. If you want to live, you're coming with me. Otherwise, I'm not dignifying that response. But but here's a beautiful moment, and then New Hope I think gets glazed over a lot. This moment's really beautiful to me.
Okay.
It's C-3PO. They're really rewatching me. Like, again, this is like from my Spike TV viewings of it. It's really kind of connected with me. It's C-3PO notices after he's kind of bought by Uncle Owen. He realizes that R2 is just going to be all alone. Like he's saying, "Oh, you glob," he doesn't call him a glob of grease in this scene. He called him in the beginning, but he's just like saying, "Oh, you." It's like, well, it serves you right. You're rude. No one likes you. But it's just like C-3PO is looking at him though. Like he's mainly quiet during the scene after they get reunited through hilarious circumstances, being abducted by the Jawas.
Mm-hmm.
No, but seriously, it's this moment of just the two of them. Like C-3PO exchanges a glance, even though R2 doesn't really have a real face. They exchange his glance.
The brilliant thing about R2-D2 is that he has no face, he has no voice. Practically, he has a sound to him. That's about it.
Well, actually, Tiki, I actually have a surprise for you.
Oh dear!
I have a guest star with me, and he's finally here. You ready for him?
I don't know. I don't know.
Take a listen to it. I think we're talking about him. Did you hear that? Isn't that right, R2? Aren't you glad to be in this movie? Very nice. Very nice.
Wow. We got R2-D2. Our subscribers are going to go through the roof now.
You hear that, Tiki? No one likes a wise guy, so let's move on. No, but seriously,
but what I'm saying is that you've got just that iconic Ben Burke sound effect. You've got like the way that the thing circulates its head. That's about it. That's all the expression you get out of it.
Yeah, you still get a good range of performance. The point is, there's this really great underplay moment where C-3PO he turns to R2-D2. Then he basically persuades Uncle Owen and Luke Skywalker to after their one astromech kind of breaks down. It's a scam job. Mm-hmm. Basically, C-3PO says, "Well, my counterpart R2-D2, he actually would be of great service." And then there's this great moment where R2-D2 then he's bought, so then he goes up to him and he says, "Don't forget what I did for you just now." Seriously, it's a really sweet moment of C-3PO. Like he says, "No, this guy's not my friend. This guy's an encumbrance. I'm ridding myself of this guy." But he has a soft spot for R2-D2. And what the beautiful thing in the context of all 6 movies is that C-3PO, they forgot all of their friendship together, but this is them reconnecting their friendship.
Right. Absolutely. Well put.
Which is kind of sweet, really is. Mm-hmm. Despite his complaints about R2-D2, he does care about him. Of course, by the end of C-3PO's arc, is that by the end of this movie, he really genuinely cares about R2-D2. Like when he gets lifted on the ship and he gets fired at him, or R2-D2 gets seriously wounded at the end of this movie.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a death scare for R2 here.
Yeah, C-3PO's, "Oh, R2, someone repair him." Again, just showing that's how far C-3PO is coming. R2-D2 through the whole thing. He's a droid with a mission. He's very brave, and he cares about C-3PO.
Totally.
It's sweet. Okay, so anything you want to add, R2? Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, let's move on. That'll be a running gag through all of this, folks. Get used
Oh
to.
dear God! Oh dear God!
So let's move on to our villainous side here.
Okay.
Darth Vader. Not a lot to go on with his arc specifically, but you really what we have.
Again, it's almost impossible to talk about without getting into the shit that comes after.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a little bit of stuff here. It's just like he has his mission to find the Death Star plans. He's not getting any respect. It's mainly just fear based. Like, oh, this guy's gonna kill us or choke us to death. Really, that's all it's based around. It's like he's this religious fanatic here about the Force.
Mhm.
And this guy, I mean, we're very intimidated by him. We don't respect. This guy's a clown in a suit, but we never say that in front of him, though. You know, and of course, he just by the end of it, he just misses Luke thanks to Han. That's really his arc. Just kind of Vader's folly. That's really his arc in this first half here, in this first section.
Oh, yeah. And it's interesting that Vader kind of like gets out in the ship and gets his hands dirty. You know what I mean?
Hands on and a pilot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really it for Vader. Then, of course, just a little bit on Governor Tarkin. He's Vader's boss, which is kind of funny. And again, he runs a very tight ship. He's telling Vader, "Release him, Vader." Just like stop messing around.
Stop screwing around at shop glass.
I mean, yet another reason that Vader doesn't get any respect because he literally is like on a leash with Tarkin.
Which is kind of like the perfect foreshadowing to what's going to be going down with the Emperor.
Oh yeah. And again, the best part about Governor Tarkin is he lives and breathes the Empire. He's the guy who's saying the little bit I have seen, like the first season I have seen of Star Wars Rebels, is like you have these Empire heads who are just like really like all about kind of like we uphold the little rules so people like fear and respect us. So like we make him say the anthem and all that stuff. Anyways, he lives and breathes the Empire. He's like Governor Tarkin is the poster child for the Imperial Guard here.
Oh yeah.
He destroys innocent planets just for the heck of it. Like, well, we now show a force, so we destroy Alderaan, even though Alderon's innocent. Mm-hmm. Well, not innocent. You know what I mean. Mm-hmm. And also the important thing with Governor Tarkin here, and this kind of is representative of the whole trilogy here, is that Governor Tarkin's overconfidence was his downfall, led to his downfall here because he was overconfident in the Death Star's capabilities, and of course because he didn't evacuate, he had the perfect opportunity to evacuate after his guys told him like, oh man, the rebels are getting close. Now, why would we leave in our moment of victory? And then
hubris, my friend, hubris always gets you.
Yeah, but of course that's science throughout the whole trilogy of people being overconfident in their abilities and that kind of backfiring on them.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I guess our carbon sleep moments would be our next segment.
Carbon sleep, and this is our favorite moments.
Yes, our favorite moments. The most impactful favorite moments.
Just making sure. I mean, God, it's like you said, almost this whole movie just.
Well, I mentioned Vader's entrance. That was one of mine. Sorry, go on.
I mean, I think anything on Tatooine for me, I love the Tusken Raiders. I love just the world building of the whole thing and just getting to, just really just getting drawn into the galaxy. It's just fascinating to watch this just based on like how much more we know about Star Wars now than we did based on when this was one singular film. And so that's kind of what intrigues me the most about it. What draws me into it is just the world building quality, seeing what was there at the very beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you get so many fantastic sequences here.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's hard to. It really is hard to pick a favorite scene out of this because, I mean, like you have the Death Star run, which is amazing. That's just a feat of visual effects masterwork right there. One of the best climaxes in a movie for my money.
Yeah, but let's give like a quick rundown, just like some bits. There's always like the most. I'm talking about like the most memorable bits from the movie that just like always kind of like. I'm saying, as I mentioned, the Vader entrance was huge. One of my favorites.
I mean, we haven't talked about the Star Destroyer entrance yet. Right at the very beginning of the film, the first frickin' shot.
Oh, take us through it.
Well, you know, of course. I mean, come on, anyone listening to this doesn't need me
I'm just,
to. But,
I don't mean take a step, just like build it up a little bit. You know,
well, you
like,
know, the
why it
whole
matters.
freaking rebel ship, and then you got the giant ass Star Destroyer flying right over it, you know, encompassing the entire camera, just keeps going on, and we're like, okay, A, how long is this goddamn ship, and B, how did they put this on screen?
Oh yeah. And you know, one of my favorite sequences, again, in terms of just kind of pathos and what's being exposited, and the acting is beautiful on it. So the Obi-Wan Luke conversation
Oh,
about
yeah.
about his father, about like your father was Anakin Skywalker, and he was my friend, and he was my friend, and we fought bravely in the Clone Wars, and again, big letdown with that one, the prequels,
A
but
little bit.
seriously, Clone Wars I thought was going to turn out to be a lot cooler than it actually was.
Nope.
When I first saw this, I'm just saying, when they mentioned Clone Wars, I'm thinking like actual clones.
Turned out it sucked.
I'm thinking like people, it's like kind of a question of like, who's the real one?
I know, that's what I thought it would be, too.
Nothing.
Nope.
But regardless, well, in the positive here. So, it's just going through the whole thing of like, your father was Bridge and Darth Vader, and just like the pathos it's built up here. Of course, the way it pays off beautifully in the next movie. You're saying, what happened to my father? How did my father die? A Jedi. And just again, factoring in the elements of the prequel, especially the third one, if you can take one, just factoring in just kind of the, there was a Jedi named Darth Vader, murdered, basically saying that he wiped out the Jedi Order. He wiped out the Jedi. Just hearing Alec Guinness say that just sounds like there's so much pain in his voice saying that, saying there's this one Jedi one Jedi in our order, he turned on everyone and killed them all. Basically, they're talking about the history of the Force, all the people who are extinct now because of this one Jedi, and saying, yes, your father was killed by Darth Vader.
And that is definitely one of the moments that plays well with the context of the prequels in mind.
Yeah, your father was betrayed and murdered by Darth Vader, or betrayed and killed by Darth Vader. It's a huge moment. Again, you got to remember, that's one of the things that kind of makes Luke Skywalker kind of build up this legacy to his father, which, of course, it was kind of, again, it's part of his heroic drive when you think about it. Luke is kind of striving to meet up this legend he's been told about. Like his father was a good man.
Definitely.
Let's see. So again, of course, the Force history lesson too, just like mentioning what's the Force. It's this mystical thing that kind of binds us
together. It penetrates us. Yes.
It's very good, very good. Of course, another moment I think we can all just kind of agree with as being a great moment is Han Solo. After they knock out the stormtrooper, and he's like on the radio saying, "Oh yeah, I heard commotion down there. What was that? Oh no, everything's fine. How are you?" Saying, "Oh, what's your ID number?" And he blasts the thing, and then he just yells down to Luke, who's running down the prison cells. Luke, we're gonna have company. Just all the moments where Harrison Ford just gets this is the high energy Harrison Ford. Like on the Hollywood Babylon, they always make fun of Harrison Ford for like the low energy interviews he's given in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like the high energy Harrison Ford, where he was just saying, whenever he just kind of yelled at the top of his lungs, saying, "Luke, hurry up!" Or like there's this one scene where he's running down a hallway just screaming. It's hilarious, by the way, in this movie, where he has the blaster and he's just running down the hallway, like plowing down stormtroopers with the blaster. Ah! It's hilarious.
Yeah, I think you about covered it. I do think my single favorite moment in this film, and probably maybe in all of Star Wars, is the twin sons.
Oh yes, as I mentioned with my Luke Skywalker introduction and the Han Solo stuff just now. I mean, the stormtrooper ploy I thought was brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Just like them dressing like stormtroopers. And one of my favorite things, this is harkens to my love of Batman, of course, but I love just the look of like Han Solo and Luke Skywalker just having the stormtrooper utility belts.
Mm-hmm.
Always my favorite image for the movie, just seeing them with the stormtrooper, like especially Luke, because it worked so well. He has a grappling gun in the belt. That's awesome. The Han Solo save at the end, of course. And the targeting computer scene. That's the big takeaway from this movie.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You've turned off your targeting computers. Anything wrong? Use the Force, Luke. And of course, that's when the John Williams score, just the most tense scene in all of Star Wars. Just that, You're just that whole turn off targeting computer like dun 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 dun. Han Solo he blasts like what? He's screaming like, "Come on, kid, blow this thing and so we can go home." And of course the Yahoo. Nothing beats the Han Solo Yahoo.
No, nothing.
Of course, as we mentioned to death here, what do you think is so special about the cantina scene?
Just all the different creatures, all the world building. Like I said, the world building is what's special about Star Wars.
For me, I just love the mundane. There's just this little kind of bar at the spaceport that everyone gathers around. It's like Han Solo.
Run by B. Arthur.
Do you think she bought it from somewhere? Or do you think she actually has been the owner the whole time?
I would like to think that she's the owner the whole time, and we just don't see her here. Like she's just in the back room somewhere.
Right. Yeah, but it's just I love just the idea of it's like the Old West. Sorry, I love it's just kind of like this Old West sort of thing where you kill the guys. Just I'm sorry for the mess. You give the bartender a tip. I just love that. And of course, let me just say this last thing we'll say on the carbon slate moments. Then we'll move on to kind of our twin sons segment.
Okay.
If there was one line I can just take away from Star Wars, just one line that was just one of my favorite absolute lines from A New Hope, it's this one. My favorite lines, even Marvel has stolen liberally, and it's a wonderful thing. If you're going to take one line from Star Wars, is the line that take and make your own for Marvel. But I love this line. It's you've taken your first step into a larger world.
Oh yeah.
That line, you're taking your first step into a larger world. Just then, of course, Nick Fury doing that in the end of Iron Man. Your world's. I'm trying to think of Nick Fury's specific phrase, but you know what I mean. Just the first step into a larger world has always been my favorite line in Star Wars.
Okay.
It's really true with Luke's arc. He's taking the first step in larger world. Okay, so twin son. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah, this is actually pretty interesting because, like I said, I think the cultural phenomenon that is Star Wars is just the fact that it created this melting pot of a mythology that, in turn, created mythology in its own right.
Now, the biggest thing to remember is that this is always a touching thing that was I want to say was mentioned in in Empire Dreams. I'm pretty sure it was. Always kind of a touching moment that George Lucas, he committed himself to a lot of research for this movie back when he was figuring out what Star Wars was.
Oh.
And of course, the biggest thing was he looked to, as I mentioned, kind of the background stuff from Empire Dreams. He studied Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell being the aficionado of looking at mythology and kind of our archetypes and what it boils down to. And George Lucas asked him a bunch of questions. He studied under him. He wanted to know all his archetypes. He wanted to know what to work with to create a new mythology. And he was borrowing from the Odyssey and the Beowulf and all those stories is how to adapt those elements there and kind of make it into something, kind of bring it back. But there's this great bit where he mentioned Joseph Campbell said George Lucas was the best student he ever had. The best student he ever had was George Lucas. That to me that sounds so awesome.
And I think it's very accurate. I think George Lucas did something really special here. It's funny because when I was kind of in high school, I used to almost dismiss Star Wars for what George Lucas did with it. I was like, oh, there's nothing original about Star Wars. It's just the hero's journey, and it's King Arthur and all these mythologies kind of blended together. But no, it's screw that, man. When I look at the culture and the impact that Star Wars has had, when I see just how excited us as a goddamn human race as a whole is excited about this new movie that's dropping in a few days, it's no, he did something much more than just kind of take the archetypes and run with them. It's just, I don't know. What do you think it was? What do you think was the winning formula? How do you think he implemented it so well?
Well, it's just, but it boils down to, he just made those archetypes cooler. That's what he did. He kind of made. I know it's simplistic, yes, but essentially that's what he did. These are archetypes that we like them, but the setting had a lot to do with it. Just putting it in the setting, just kind of a way you've never telling the old stories in a location you've never seen it before. It's taking you to a new world where these archetypes you're hooked by just where are we? You know, like where are we? These vast sets, this beautiful landscape.
Oh yeah,
And then the story's unfolding. Like the story, it's familiar, but there are these little touches, these little twists to it. Like instead of a sword, it's a laser sword. It's a lightsaber. It kind of pops in nowhere. So all these little small touches are just these little not just imperfections. That's the idea that he's going for. The whole used, lived-in universe, which is a great idea. But it's these little touches.
The prequel's totally and completely botched.
Well, no, the idea is the prequel's supposed to be gleaming.
Yeah, let's not even go there. Let's not open that can of worms.
Okay, regardless, you see what I'm saying though with this, like all these little personal touches.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like, it's you need a King Arthur type with the sword. Well, no, we're gonna make that a laser sword. It's like a little cool thing to kind of just change it up a little bit to kind of make it different. And like you go to the bar. Well, instead of a bar, it's a bar in space. But yeah, it's these stories that are still great stories, but just kind of made a little more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And putting this kind of this new context you never thought of it before. I think Lucas just put it in a new context we didn't think of before.
And of course, Obi-Wan represents probably one of the oldest character archetypes in the history of storytelling, I would say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The mentor,
of course,
the wise mentor.
So I think for that he's just a great jumping off point into the rest of the mythology of the universe. It's very appropriate that we get all of our exposition and background into it through his eyes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, what else do we have?
Leia, I believe like the technical term is like the feminist hero, but it's not just like feminist for feminist sake. It's like actually
she's a strong, independent woman.
Yeah, it's not that sort of feminist. It's actually like she's the female hero. Again,
seriously, she is strong, she is independent, and she is a woman. So more power to her for that. I'm not making a joke.
Yeah, I mean, we have many forms of the idea of Joseph Campbell, folks, is that the hero's journey, like the hero archetypes, like there are a whole bunch of classifications of heroes specifically.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's the warrior, there's the lover, there's the scapegoat, there's the transcendent. Transcendent, particularly with Darth Vader, is the flaw that leads to the downfall and the wisdom from. Actually, no, it's not just Vader; it's also Luke, and this is important for getting into the next movies. Is that it's Luke. Our characters making these fatal flaws that lead to a downfall, which they learn from when they do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Which, of course, I'm not going to dwell on too much. Of course, we see with Luke later on, and we get a little bit with, like, again, from the villain's perspective with Tarkin, again, just that flaw leading to a downfall.
Sure.
But again, it's like learning from that, though. That's the important thing, which is all throughout Star Wars, just kind of learning from a mistake. Which is with any hero, too, of course, like Spider-Man, all over that with the origin. It's like these very iconic, heroic things. So again, if Leia's kind of like the feminist hero, the female lead hero.
I think R2-D2 and C-3PO are kind of like classic jester comic relief characters dating back to like Shakespearean times.
Yeah, but I mean also Lucas is like looking to even like the old war movies too, of like just you have your two comedy characters, or actually what my context of it is not exactly with having Solo aside from just them being the. I'm saying when you look at an Abbott Costello movie or a Marx Brothers movie, Tiki, you will have the ideas like the thing we care about, the thing we're paying the ticket prices for, is to watch our comedians, our heroes.
Mm-hmm.
But what the movies will do to justify, for some reason, the studio heads, I'm guessing, would force this upon them, is that you can't just have a movie that's all comedy. You have to have plot in there. So with that, what they would do is you would have like a love story or like some subplot with two other characters you have no vested interest in.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is that you would have these two characters, they were like on the side who kind of get the ball rolling. So like the idea is you're following this young dashing man who's falling in love with a girl, while like they bring you to the point, to the meat of it. That's what I'm getting at. So like your meat really is Abbott and Costello. It's kind of a reverse on what the thing actually is.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. But seriously, it's like in the old war movies that George Lucas looked at. It was like you'd have these I don't remember what the movie was or what the context was. Like these two Asian migrant workers who were just kind of like the comedy duo who led to the plot of the movie.
Oh no!
So like you start with these guys. I'm saying that it's like a example. I'm saying they're like a bunch. That's like a primary example.
Uh-huh.
But you know what I mean? It's like these are two comedy characters leading to the plot. It's like what if the plot of the Abbott Costello movies, the actual quote unquote plot, was actually interesting.
Yeah.
With our comedy guys leading us there.
Yeah.
which is the prime purpose for C-3PO and R2-D2. And speaking of R2-D2, so I'm just we're just going to talk about some thematic stuff here, folks, instead of just kind of all the archetypes here. But some thematic stuff, speaking of C-3PO and R2-D2, is that you have the thematic thing in all Star Wars of budding friendship. You see that in this movie with C-3PO and R2-D2, their friendship coming together. You see that with Han and Luke and Leia and Chewie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that kind of intrepid group forming from this budding friendship. But at first, they didn't really look at it as a friendship, but it develops over the course of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of archetypes and kind of the conventions, you have the quest to save the princess.
Of course, yeah, that really dates back.
The quest, the journey, the invitation, which is kind of like the recruitment. You're invited to help us out here on this quest.
You're a wizard, Harry.
We get the classic bartering and kind of the deal making with the cantina scene.
Of course.
Den of violence and shady characters, cantina as well.
Which that's one of the things I'm excited most of for Force Awakens is that whole like pirate smuggler castle thing.
Oh yeah. Of course, our main thing, our young hero dreaming of bigger things, and coming from our twin sun shot, which is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And also maybe there's some symbolism there with twins, like the binary sons of Tatooine being, it's two twin sons, which of course could maybe hint at the future. I'm not saying it was intentional at all, but I'm just saying perhaps hints at Episode 6, twins.
Possibly.
I'm not intentional. I'm just saying, looking back at it, it's something you could draw.
Looking back on it, sure, it works, yeah. But
of course, I think the big thing, thematic thing.
I think in the moment it was just kind of like, hey, look at this place. It's really fucking hot. It's got two suns.
Oh yeah. But here's something really important thematically with Luke throughout all the Star Wars movies here, our original trilogy here, is that Luke's main purpose was bridging people together.
Yeah.
That's what Luke does. He bridged these people together. He's the reason that Death Star went down, because he was able to. He is the glue of the Star Wars movies. That's what he is. He's the one that kind of got. He got to Han Solo. He got to Leia. Going forward, he meets these characters, and he's the one he's the driving force. Like after he's befriended Han and Leia in the next movie, you're going to see them going to lengths to protect this kid because he brought them together. Luke he's the plot motivator as well as Leia, but especially Luke.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he does. Any other Campbellian archetypes you'd like to talk about?
No, not really. I'm kind of getting concerned about our length right now, so let's wrap it up as soon as we can.
Okay, let's go to Force Ghost of the Past.
Force Ghost of the Past, and that is special edition stuff, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so, we have the big ones. We have Greedo shooting first. I mean, what are you going to do about that? That's just...
Yeah.
At first, I didn't really think it was a big deal, but it kind of sticks in my crawl more as I get older. I don't know.
I'm with you there. First, I just thought, well, he still got him in the end. But then when you think about it, Greedo just missed, he's right in front of him.
Right. If Greedo wasn't a fucking terrible, poor excuse for an assassin, then Han would be dead because Han's thinking, oh, I don't know if I should wait to shoot before this guy shoots me. That wouldn't be ethical.
It still makes Han look cool. I mean, he was able to dodge a blast, right...
I'm sorry, but I don't think
Yeah.
I'm trying to do it. But
no, I'm saying it's him leaning to the side, just missing the blast is kind of cool.
I think it's goofy as fuck.
Hey, Lunar, I'm the advocate of Han shooting first. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, before the logic hits in, well, how could he just miss him like that? Is Han Solo just kind of missing him at the last second's a cool idea, but it's obviously a lot of flaws with that.
Okay, obviously we don't need any of the giant CGI abominations and Mos Eisley that we get. We can all agree on that. It's literally it gets to the point where it's literally hey, who put this Phantom Menace in my Star Wars?
Yeah, the land speeder thing wasn't a bad idea. That wasn't a bad idea.
The land speeder thing is good. Those are totally the type of stuff that this the special edition should have been focused more on.
Like special editions had like 2 big contributions that were good, actually. Like the subtle effects, like the land speeder, in particular. Like the biggest thing is like kind of the coloration thing. Like it would like replenish the film grain almost, like give it kind of that kind of Blu-ray quality almost.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
So basically, that was the biggest thing. That was one of the selling points of the special edition. That was like the reason for doing something.
Also, there were new shots with the Death Star and the X-wings and everything, like completely CGI shots. And
a little mixed on that, but again, it's not the end of the world really with those.
Oh, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it kind of adds a layer of like new cinematic quality to it.
Yeah, like when you go to the Rebel base and you see the ships flying around. That's not the end of the world.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That was the big thing in the trailers. They really sold people on. It was like, oh, you get to see the like a whole bunch of X-wings and stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, those additions are fine. They're perfectly fine. But you get elements like the Jabba the Hutt scene.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so and the issue is it's all the same information you got in the Greedo scene. I mean, here's the thing. First time you see a special edition, you're like, oh my god, we get to see Jabba the Hutt. At first, you're dumbfounded by that. Like, oh man, it's so cool. We get to see him in an additional movie. More footage of Jabba, yeah.
That's exactly how I was as a kid. As a kid, I was just like, oh my god, when do we get to the Jabba scene again? Because Jabba the Hutt is so awesome, and I want to see more of him.
At first, you're thrilled by that. Now, I'm in the same boat with you, Dig, but then it dawns on you after a while. You start to realize, oh, wait a minute. Well, one, it's makes him a little less cool because like Han Solo's stepping on his tail and he's gonna. I mean, there's one good thing in the scene, just seeing kind of like the Jabba the Hutt is kind of like taking Han Solo under his wing, suggesting he has liking the Han Solo. But then again, that's yet another problem when you think about it. It's like he makes it look like Han Solo could have just talked his way out of Jabba's clutches if they're that chummy with each other. But the other thing, of course, being it's all the same information, just Jabba wants you to deliver on the thing. Why would he send if he wanted you dead? So basically he sent someone to kill you. So how would he get his money back if he was going to be easily swayed like he was?
Yeah, good point.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying you're missing all these little flaws start to come to the surface when you have Jabba all of a sudden in here. Of course, it makes him look less cool and he's smaller than he is in
also, big flaw is that they spoil the reveal of the Falcon.
Yeah.
The Falcon's just like it's just there in the background, just chilling. No big reveal later on or anything like that.
There was one really awesome shot though that we do lose with this sequence though. It's the Old West shot of him walking out and greeting Jabba. That is an awesome shot. Right. Remember, it's like you see the holster like just right after he shot Greedo and walking out of there. That was like the one sacrifice thing there. Just seeing that Old West shot is a beautiful shot.
Okay, I think that about covers it. I mean, like I said, we can just agree that all the Mos Eisley stuff is just CGI garbage that shouldn't be there.
One last thing.
Yeah.
So one last change. I'm actually on the side of people who like this change.
Okay.
The Death side. What? Not thinking of Super Academy. Sorry. Sorry. The
Imperial March.
No, the Death Star. The Death Star explosion.
Oh, okay. What about it?
So, the addition to the Death Star explosion is like the little wavy line, and just kind of the explosion looks a little more impressive. I kind of like that.
Yeah, like it doesn't take away anything that the original, the original crew contributed to it.
I mean, I'm sure some of the effects guys might be a little peeved, but I get that it looks kind of cooler because it has that wavy line. I don't know. I like the wavy line. It looks bigger. That's the thing. It looks like it's a bigger. It looks bigger than it initially did. I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Some people really harp on the little details. I think that one's fine.
And again, just seriously, Lucas, give Chewie that medal. It's not that hard.
Yeah, seriously. If you can, again, just improve the film, add a few more CG spaceships, not like 80, but just like a few. And again, just a few bigger. Accentuating the explosions is not a bad idea. But big thing, give Chewie the medal.
Yeah, they just couldn't be bothered with that, even still.
The fans have to do it for them, just to kind of do the fan cuts, just to give them the medals. Seriously, is that what we have? Why can't, of all the additions you've made, you can't add that one?
No, no. Out of all the editions that have come out, Chewie's never gotten them. I think at this point it's a personal fuck you to the fans.
You know, it'd be hilarious if Disney released a version of Star Wars just one, so they wouldn't go nuts with it. Just one is like the in-your-face George Lucas edition of Star Wars.
Well, I think Disney could market the ever-living shit out of like, hey, we've got the original unaltered versions. Buy the fuck out of them.
Oh yeah.
All right. Anyways.
Yes. Okay. So let's see. We should be at the last segment then. So we should ask. We need to pose a question here, folks.
Whereas Anakin Skywalker would say, "Yippee!"
Well, or as he would say at a later age, "No, it's over." No. But seriously, so we have to pose a question here. So, Tiki, do you think the Force is strong with this movie?
No shit. Obviously. Come on now. Come on. Just look at my shirt. It's Star Wars, man. It's fucking Star Wars.
Yes, the Force is absolutely strong with this movie.
I apologize if like I kind of got into a lull of not really having a lot to say, because that's the thing with me and talking about really big popular movies like this is I already feel like everything that's already been said about this movie has been said already. So, you know, I think we got some good bits out of it. It just kind of, the whole thing just sort of intimidates me from a podcasting point of view. It's the same reason why I don't want to do a Back to the Future podcast.
Well, a little late for that.
Well, we did The Ride. I'm saying doing a podcast based exclusively around the movies. Yes. Context. Right. Thank you, R2.
You know, I love having R2. I love having R2D2 as our little co-star here.
Well, it's great.
You wouldn't believe what C-3PO's agent has.
Oh no!
As you go through to get him. R2's much easier. Okay, but yeah,
I've heard Anthony Daniels is actually kind of a priss about the whole thing.
You know, he seems so nice in the interviews. Always kind of makes me a little crestfallen when I hear the negative stuff.
I know.
Yeah, okay, but seriously, the final thoughts on when we say the Force is the Force strong, really kind of question like final thoughts on it. So.
Well, I mean, it's an icon. I mean, this movie started blockbuster filmmaking. It started so many things, and not only is it a blockbuster, not only is it
blockbuster.
Well, yeah, but not only is it the blockbuster, but it's also just a tour de force and just like interesting, like kind of mythological symbolism and just world building, and you can read so much into what's on the screen here, and obviously people did, because it started. This whole thing, this one little movie started everything, and now people across the nation, across the world, are absolutely holding their breaths in anticipation, and it's going to be a crazy event going down.
And we should say one more thing. So there's the thing we should probably close out on with looking this movie in context of the next movie. Is that obviously, for me, at least I can speak to this. This will be my first kind of official, so not counting the animated movie. This is my first official Star Wars in theaters. You're being able to experience it in theaters, and I'm looking forward to having an experience like those lucky people from '77 who were.
You didn't see the prequels in theaters?
No.
You just weren't into it?
Well, again, I told you my Star Wars experience.
That's true. Okay.
I mean, it was. I saw them on DVD. I just didn't see them in them.
Fair enough. I'm kind of the same way with the Hunger Games. It's like I like them enough to watch them. I just don't like them enough to see them in theaters.
The point is, this is going to be my first theatrical experience of Star Wars. Aside from, I saw an anime. I saw the Clone Wars.
Oh, that was a slog to sit through.
Not the prequel. I'm some of the animated one.
No, I know what you're talking about.
So I don't really count that one. This is like the first kind of live action I've seen the crawl. You know.
I was actually at the midnight screening for Revenge of the Sith. That was some fun times.
I'm very stoked for it, and the reason I'm stoked for it again is to kind of capture just a glimpse of that experience with the Star Wars movie.
I think this is going to be bigger, man. I mean, Revenge of the Sith was really exciting. Like, you could feel an electricity in the air with Revenge of the Sith. But this is going to be a movie that's going to come without all the pessimism that came with 2 movies of the prequel that predated Revenge of the Sith. We're going in fresh, which is why The Force Awakens is going to be so exciting.
Now, we don't know if this is going to be bigger in terms of the turnout and then the hype for Phantom Menace, but it's a big deal. It's I'm just saying, because that one was huge. People literally just went to the movies to see the trailers. That was back in the day.
That's true. Fucking meet Joe Black.
But I'm saying, when you think about it, though, it's like this idea, like, this is going to be big. This is like Star Wars after 30 years, coming back into theaters after 30 years.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
And again, that's the first one without George Lucas involved, yet it's getting great. Well, again, George Lucas said, I liked it. Didn't really say one thing or the other. He said, basically, someone said that George Lucas liked it. That's really all that was said.
Apparently, the reviews are going to start coming out tomorrow.
Oh, we'll see about that.
I know, we'll see. Like people like Schmoes knows. Like I know the Schmoes are at the premiere, like probably right now as we speak. So they say they're doing the reviews. I don't know if they can or not.
That's the thing. That's quite Abrams is having. That's another thing to praise. J.J. Abrams. He's really kind of trying. I think J.J. Abrams is striving to do his best to give us a somehow a wormhole back to 1977 with this coming movie. He's giving us that experience, which again I'm really thrilled for. He's really going for a New Hope vibe with this movie. That's the New Hope for a new generation. That's the idea.
Absolutely.
And with that, I'm very stoked, and that's why looking back at this movie, it's going to give us context looking into the next one, just looking at how it's going to be like a new adventure starting with these characters going like the beginnings of an adventure, but it's so funny. The mythological archetypes we've been talking about are now the Star Wars archetypes that we're going to be seeing.
Yep. It's all come full circle, which is the amazing thing about the franchise.
Which is absolutely beautiful, and that's the thing you have to attest to the success and power of Star Wars. So let's close it out.
All right, perfect. So that's the end of this episode. Until the next one, where we will be sure to go to the Tashi station to pick up some power converters. And may the Force be with you, always. Well, I'm not going that way. You can go that way, but I'm not going that way.